Hello, welcome to Sakshi TV. Today's topic in another episode is about the upcoming elections in New Jersey, the general elections, November 2021, which is only about 3 to 4 days away from now. Our guest tonight are two candidates running in the state of New Jersey, Angela Pham, Republican candidate, LD18, state of New Jersey. And we also have Adam Elias, running from LD14, the Senate candidate, Republican candidate from LD14, New Jersey. Hey, Angela, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on, Arun. I really appreciate it.
Adam, how's it going?
How are you, sir? Good to see you again.
Good. So I'll go against a norm. I'll not pick the senatorial candidate first. I'll go with the lady first. Is that okay with
you? Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. I'm breaking the ballot order a little bit here. So Angela, how are you?
I'm great. Just been working hard. A lot of door knocking, a lot of going to events. It's been a hectic but fun time for sure.
How's it going for you, Adam?
It's going great. Today I was at a high school football game, went out door knocking, every day, was just back on the pavement.
Yeah. Cool. So Angela, let's start with you. Am I right in saying that both of you are running for the first time?
That's right.
Yes. This is the first time I've ever run for public office. It's one of the main things I like to lead in when I speak to people, because I think a lot of people, from what I've heard, are frustrated with the politicians currently in office. They're frustrated. They feel like politicians are after themselves. They have their own agenda. And for me, I was a stay-at-home mom before I decided to step into the race. I had nothing to gain by it other than really wanting to try to make a difference for my children, for their future, for my community. And people can feel that, and they feel the authenticity when I speak to them. And it's actually been an advantage that this is the first time I'm running and that I am not a politician. I've found it's definitely been a leg up in my race.
So before I ask any questions, right, I want you guys to introduce yourself. So who's Angela Pham?
So I'm Angela Pham. I am running for assembly in the 18th Legislative District. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of 3 beautiful boys. I'm a former small business owner. I owned a little pizzeria over in North Brunswick, and I live in East Brunswick with my family. I was at home with my kids for a few years, and then I saw things happening on the state level. I made many attempts to reach out to my state legislators when I saw concerning things within our curriculum, different various issues happening within my community that they felt that they weren't being heard about. And after sending petitions and doing email banks and phone calls and sending in actual physical letters and never hearing back from our legislators, I felt that it was important for me to step into the race and to be a voice for those of us who feel unheard.
No response in general in politics is a common response.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Adam Elias.
Sure.
So who's Adam?
So I'm Adam Elias. I was born in Egypt. I came to this country when I was 3 years old. I believe that I'm a story of the American dream. I now am married. I have 2 little girls and my first son on the way. I'm an attorney. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a family man. And I'm a proud resident of New Jersey. I grew up here. I'm going to raise my kids here. I grew up in North Edison. I now live in Monroe Township, Middlesex County. And I need New Jersey to work. I own businesses here. My parents live here in Monroe with me. I can't give up on New Jersey. All too often I hear people say that they're going to head down to Florida, that they're done. They can't, it's too expensive, too many rules, too crowded. There's always too many problems in New Jersey. And I'd like to take a stab at trying to fix some of them.
Congratulations on your third baby.
Thank you.
Okay. So why are you running for Senate from LD14, and why this term?
So this term is a big momentous race in New Jersey. You have the governor election. We're going to elect a new governor on Tuesday, Jack Ciattarelli. Down to the bottom of the ticket, the mayoral race. The former mayor of Monroe Township, he was the mayor of about 15 years, I believe. He passed away suddenly on New Year's Eve. So they had to do a special election this coming November. Growing up in North Edison, I can tell you that Monroe has a much more active local community. So I thought it was a good opportunity for people to come out from the bottom of the ticket to the top of the ticket to get out the vote. And in 2 years, they're going to be redistricting. Senate in New Jersey runs on a 10-year cycle, 4 years, 4 years, 2 years, every 10 years to accommodate the census and new populations. So
Yeah, we call it 244.
244. Okay. So this is an upcoming 2-year election. And also because the mayoral election in Monroe is also going to be a special election for 2 years. So I'll be back at the booth in 2 years. I figured, let me get out there now. Let me do my best to flip the seat. And if I don't get it this time, I will be back at it again in a couple months, because in 2 years we'll be back at the election.
So unlike Angela's district, your district covers 2 counties, right?
Correct. Middlesex and Mercer County.
Mercer and Middlesex. Do you notice any difference when you go out on the campaign trail in terms of talking to people, in terms of their issues? Do you notice any difference?
I would tell you no. Middlesex problems, Mercer problems are New Jersey problems. They're high taxes, government mandates, school curriculum that for some parents has just gone too far off the reservation. So I find that families, businesses, 1/3 of businesses closed during the pandemic. Everyone is fighting the same fight in New Jersey.
What's up with you, Angela? You've been on the campaign trail. I see a lot of
Yeah.
pictures on social media. You've been working
Yeah.
hard. So what did you notice, both as a first-time a person running for assembly and a resident in general?
Right. So I've knocked on more than 10,000 doors at this point. I've spoken to a lot of the residents here in LD 18. I try to make myself available for almost all the community events. And the message is clear. People feel unheard. People are fleeing our state at a record level because our taxes are too high. It's unaffordable to live here. It's not competitive to run a business in our state. And they just feel like they can get more bang for their buck somewhere else. And, unlike Governor Murphy, I feel like if taxes is your problem, then it's our job to work on it. It's not your job to leave the state. So I really am trying to be out here. I'm trying to be an advocate for people. I know a lot of people in my district have complained about, problems getting unemployment checks, health problems that they've reached out to their legislators about and haven't heard back from. Really time pertinent issues that, are being ignored. And that's my goal. I always tell people, you might not get the answer that you like, but you will always get an answer from me. That's my goal, is to be responsive, be available, and always be welcoming. At the end of the day, I know who I am. I'm just a mom here from East Brunswick. I'm your neighbor. I'm your friend. I'm your community member. And together, I think we can build a better New Jersey.
On that topic, I can quote Governor Murphy on this one. If taxes are an issue, we're probably not your state. Every time I hear this ad on YouTube and any other social media, I keep asking myself, like Jack Ciattarelli says it, Assemblyman Ciattarelli says it, who says that? Right? I cannot think, I've been in politics for 7 years, I cannot think of any politician asking people to leave the state if there's a problem in the state, let alone a gubernatorial candidate. I'm yet to come across a political candidate who would say that. Probably Governor Murphy set a record on that one. So, Adam?
Well, he recently doubled down.
I'm sorry, what's that?
He recently doubled down on that, where now he says New Jersey is not going to be your low-cost state to live and work in. I couldn't believe that he actually doubled down on this statement. He didn't try to clarify it. You should be working constantly to make your state the best state you can live in. I talk to people every day, just like Angela, that are checked out. They moved to Florida, they moved to Texas or other parts of the country. But what I've noticed in particular about Florida and Texas, Governors DeSantis, Governor Abbott, these are governors that are looking out for their people. They're looking out for ways to make their states better. And unfortunately, in New Jersey, we have been, matched with a governor who's got one foot out the door. He's looking at Washington, D.C. It's obvious a lot of his moves are in line step with how to pursue a career in the federal government. And that's coming at a very heavy burden to us. And I would tell you that he was the first governor to do that, but he's not. New Jersey has a climate where, because of its population, because of its attractiveness to jobs between New York City and Philadelphia, it generally is a pathway to that next step in Washington, D.C. And I wish we would have better leaders like Jack Ciattarelli, who are invested in New Jersey, invested in the future of New Jersey, and really do care. So that's why if you have people like Jack Ciattarelli, if you have people like us in the state senate who live here, raise families here, you're not going to hear, taxes are your issue, we're not your state. We're going to have to figure it out. That's the job.
taxes are a perennial problem in the state of New Jersey.
Absolutely.
Ever since this Governor Murphy took over, the Murphy administration came into place 2017. He raised income taxes, business taxes, property taxes, gas taxes. He increased the budget by 30% in the past 4 years. He increased the tolls. So, like you rightly mentioned, Adam, this state, the atmosphere is not good for a business, let alone small business in general. So I echo with your opinion that people are leaving state, New Jersey, and then they're willing to go anywhere. Like Assemblyman Chitterelli mentions in most of his speeches, people are going to Carolinas, people are going to Florida, people are going to Georgia and other states. So do you, on your campaign trail, when you talk to people, I'm sure you spoke with a lot of people, do they mention taxes as their issue?
So, I wish I could say I spoke to 10,000 people like Angela, and I commend her for pounding that pavement for months now. But taxes, well, I had one gentleman I'll never forget has said to me, at this point, I'm just working for the taxes. He said, and I had one gentleman tell me that his tax portion of his monthly mortgage payment was greater than his principal and interest of his mortgage payment. We ran a poll back in the summer, national poll, that national polling company, very reputable, and taxes was the number one issue. It's undeniable. Yes, it is an issue in New Jersey, but it's not an issue that doesn't have solutions, right? I go online when I try to learn more about a topic, and sometimes I ask Google to help me as a starting point. I asked Google one day, Google, why is everybody moving to Florida? What makes Florida so affordable, but not New Jersey? And it was a very simple answer. I'm sorry?
You did that. You did that. You said, hey, Google.
I absolutely did that. That was a Google search that I made. Why is everyone going to Florida? And Florida has Florida has no income tax. They have a higher consumption tax. And I said to myself, well, that makes sense. People go down to Florida, they consume, and they leave. Guess what? They do the same thing right here in our backyard in New Jersey. People are driving through our roads all day. They visit our shores. They visit Atlantic City. They visit some of our best neighborhoods. So there are ways to make it more affordable. It's just you got to have the right people in Trenton. That's where it starts. You have to have people that are focused on building a better state. And when you have career politicians, such as my opponent, who has been there for 21 years in Trenton, you cannot expect any change to come through.
Yeah, I'll get to that Greenstein topic in a minute. Angela, same question to you. When you talk to residents, you spoke to like thousands of residents already.
Yes. Yes.
So do they mention taxes as the
Without
issue?
a doubt, it is the number one issue. Recently we started to implement a question where, we ask the people once they answer the door, if you were in charge of the state tomorrow, what's one thing you would change? And without a doubt, the number one answer we get is taxes. Every single property owner is paying the same high, unaffordable percentage of their income, and it's just becoming unacceptable anymore. We pay the highest income taxes. We pay the highest property taxes in the nation, pay the highest per pupil in the nation. And are you really getting the best bang for your buck? Is your quality of life worth the taxes that you're paying? And for most people, it's not. For a lot of people, I met a young woman today, and she grew up in East Brunswick. She's now an empty nester. And, despite the fact she was born and raised in our town, she's thinking about moving out because she just can't afford it. It's becoming a point where, her house is paid off, but again, she's paying just as much in taxes as she would be paying in a mortgage in a different state. And we have to do better by our residents. It's not right.
So what about schools? I'm in Jack's team, so I go with Jack Chitterelli up and down the state, and I see a lot of people talking to Jack, and Jack has a clear plan of action. I see a lot of people talking to Jack Chitterelli about school funding formula. We all know about $9.3 billion of the $46 billion state budget goes towards the schools, public school system alone, and yet there's 187 school districts which are severely underfunded, and I say this in all my speeches. People realize this, and people are concerned that the school funding formula is broken. We all have families, we all have kids who go to public school system. So my question to you, Adam, is do residents, when you talk to them, do they bring up the school funding formula as an issue?
I would say by and large, they do not, because I don't think a lot of people, unfortunately, really understand the school funding formula. They don't really realize how much of the property tax bill may go to school taxes. We had a breakdown, I think every year when they do the bump in taxes, they break it down from school tax, county tax, but a lot of people, I'm afraid, don't read it. They don't want to read it, and I don't blame them. They don't want to see their taxes going up, so they don't really want to know why. They just move along. And when you dive into it, whether you're as a legislative candidate or somebody that works in public policy, you realize, wow, Newark is getting $900 million. I think close to $1 billion. If they haven't broken it already, they're going to break it pretty soon. And I will never argue that Newark or any urban environment does not need more focus and need to make sure we get kids to graduate, to get kids out in the world prepared for success. But when Monroe Township, which is the fastest growing suburb of the state, is only getting $7 million in state aid, well, that's a huge disparity that doesn't make any sense.
And Newark
And
is
that's
the
what
largest
I'm
school district in the state. So, yep.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said Newark is the largest school district in the state. So
It is the largest school district in the state, but you're going to tell me that 900 to 7. I mean, I don't know the math off the top of my head, but I don't think it's 100 times the size of the Monroe School District, right?
that's right. That's right. Most of the funding goes to about 5% of the schools, and that's not fair. Angela, do the residents talk about school district or school funding in general when you speak to the residents as an issue?
So certain towns in my district, especially, I found the residents of Edison really do pay attention to the school funding formula because they're getting cheated pretty badly. They're very similar in size and population to Woodbridge, their neighboring town. And Woodbridge gets about $28 million more than Edison does in state school funding. And it's very obvious why. There's a lot of favors being done down in Trenton. It's not a mathematical based formula. It's really a popularity contest based on to figure out who gets what and how much. And again, our residents in Edison are a lot of hardworking blue collar individuals who really, are the backbone of New Jersey, and they're getting the short end of the stick. And that's why we need, strong local candidates to advocate for their towns. We need a strong gubernatorial candidate at the top of the ticket who's a CPA and can attack this formula from a mathematical standpoint. And we need, strong legislative candidates also who will advocate for their people, who will, approach in a more fiscally responsible position and less of who do I owe a favor to, type of policies. And so that's why I feel like we have a really good chance this year. We have strong tickets in a lot of our towns from the top all the way down to the bottom. So if there was a year to flip the 18th district, it would be this year.
Yeah. Just to add to that, Assemblyman Chitterelli is a two-time business owner. He's an MBA and a CPA. Like you mentioned, Jack has the perfect knowledge and experience to take care of the state, to become the CEO of the state. Jack Chitterelli was in the Raritan Borough Council for 5 years. He was in the Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders, now county commissioners for 4 years. And he's been, as an assemblyman, representing LD16 for 7 years in the state of New Jersey. So you're right.
You know a lot about Jack.
I am in his campaign. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I'm in his campaign. So, and I go with him all the time. I see is a great speaker. A lot of people have a lot of problems. Jack Chitterelli, he comes with experience. So he talks to the people in their language, in language which the residents understand. For example, the school funding formula, you're right, Adam. A lot of people do not know school funding formula. I know the formula because I've seen it really break it down. It's kind of technical to many people. As an example, school funding formula, it's very technical to many people. They might not understand the layman language of it. Jack breaks it down in many of his speeches. I've heard that, I've seen that. He understands the problems and explains to them in a language they understand, and which is why the difference in the polling percentage between Governor Murphy and the Republican challenger is going down and down and down, and the momentum for Jack Chitterelli and for all the people in the Republican ticket is going up. So, yep, that's how
I think if to your point, it's about are you in touch with your people or are you out of touch? And that's, we all know that, Governor Murphy is out of touch. He's obviously, again, and I hate to go back to that statement, but taxes are not your issue. New Jersey is not your state. Well, he's not from New Jersey. He didn't grow up in New Jersey. He grew up in Massachusetts. Jack Chitterelli grew up here. He raised 4 kids here. His parents are here. His businesses are here. So he understands how New Jersey works, and he knows how to talk to people in New Jersey. Governor Murphy doesn't even know how to eat a slice of pizza in New Jersey. So that's already, a disqualifier.
Yeah, that's right. So I also like to add tone deaf to
Tone
out of
deaf.
touch.
It's a great
like,
word.
Yeah, like Mr. Chitterelli says in his ads and all his speeches. Current Governor Murphy is tone deaf, out of touch. He's the divider in chief. He always tries to incite class warfare, trying to create with the non-existing us versus them analogy, and try to basically divide people. And I think people have seen this for so long, they're getting tired of this division, and they're trying to focus more on the issues, not necessarily nationalizing the issues, not necessarily in Washington, D.C. They want to know what's going on in New Jersey. And that's what I'm sure people ask you about past presidents or President Joe Biden and other personalities. They do ask Jack, and Jack Ciattarelli makes it clear that he's running for New Jersey, in New Jersey, just like everybody else, and he's focused on the problems of the state of New Jersey. Do you guys agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I knock on doors and people say, oh, I have literature that I give them. I don't specify necessarily my party affiliation. I talk about where I stand and what I would do on certain issues. As I'm talking, I see people, they're flipping my card around. One person, will never forget it, was shaking the card. I don't know what they thought was going to come out, but they'll ask me eventually, Democrat or you're Republican? And I say, red team, blue team, your tax-paying dollars are green. I say that line at least 6 times a day, and I generally find that people can't disagree with it.
Right.
Angie?
Yeah, for me, a lot of the issues that we're running on, lower taxes, better schools, helping small businesses, most people find these to be common sense issues. They don't find them to be red or blue issues. And this is the point that we're really trying to drive home. I feel like Washington has created this big divide between the Republican and the Democrat Party, and there are people on extremes in both sides of the party. And I try to tell people, listen, I'm a Jersey Republican. We're very fiscally conservative. We're socially normal. We grew up in a different generation. We grew up with, people of all different races and gender identities, and none of that matters to us. What matters to us is, who you are on the inside, how you treat your neighbors, how you conduct yourself in public. Like that's what matters to me. So if I go to a red door and they slam the door in my face, and then I go to a blue door and they're willing to articulate and have a conversation with me, that speaks to the person. And for me, it's been a major push about person over politics. That's been a quote that I've been using from the beginning. And I think people are really starting to look deeper into the candidates that they support, and they're going back and forth on the ballots based on people they've interacted with, people they've heard about, people they've heard not so great things about. And it's really becoming a race of candidates who are going to do the best job, and not necessarily the D or the R in front of their name.
Cool. I like it, Adam. You asked Angela. Like I said before, it's more like a roundtable conversation as opposed. See, Adam remembers that.
You always put me on the spot, so I want to put somebody else on the spot.
No, that's okay. You volunteered. So yeah, this is more of a non-traditional discussion. So yeah, feel free to ask each other's views or opinions. So on that note, on the note of the voters, Angela, when you knocked on doors, when you spoke to several people, did you convert any non-Republicans to Republicans, be it unaffiliated or Democrat? Did you notice that? Let me ask you that question.
So unaffiliates are pretty easy to convert, because either way they find themselves to be in the middle, and they're willing to listen and have a conversation. But we've converted a lot of Democrats too. I'll tell you one quick story. We met a World War II veteran. His name was Frank. He was 92 years old. He met his German wife on the beach of Normandy, and she was a nurse that saved his life. And it was this beautiful story. And as we kind of were talking to him and discussing issues, he shared with us, he's been a Democrat his whole life. He's never voted for a Republican. And this will be the first election in his 92 years of life that he will switch sides and vote for a Republican. It hasn't been a difficult push. If people are willing to have a conversation with you, if they're willing to hear you out, like I said, the issues we're running on, they're not partisan issues. They're really common sense issues. And people just want somebody who they feel like is accessible. The fact that I'm there at their front door asking them what their concerns are, is a big deal for a lot of people. Some have lived in their homes their whole lives and have never had a politician come and knock on their door. And, that's usually the first line I go with, is that I'm not a politician, but I just want to be a representative for the people.
Which town was this? Edison?
This is in East Brunswick.
Yeah.
East Brunswick.
Just out of curiosity, did he ask him as to what propelled him to flip to be a Republican or vote for Republican?
It was really just the fact that we were at his door. We were asking him the issues that concerned him. He was older in age, and he had just taken his wife to nursing home, and he was upset about it. And I gave him my personal contact info in case he ever needs anything. And, I feel like a lot of people have certain biases built in their minds about what each party represents. But for him to see that I was just a neighbor, I'm a concerned citizen, and just the way I would take care of you, regardless of whether I'm a politician or not, just as your neighbor, was enough to sway the vote. And, for me, it's more about taking care of my community than it is about accruing votes. But it was definitely a memory I'll never forget.
Yeah, on that topic of nursing home, the current governor grossly mishandled the COVID situation. As a result, there were several unfortunate nursing home deaths. Just wanted to mention that point. Same question to you, Adam. Did you notice any conversion from the other side of the aisle to the Republican side as you were talking to the residents?
It's funny. I see conversion before I even get on the door. When I knock on the door, when I talk to them, that just really, I think in their mind, removes any doubts they have about the conversion. But by the time I've gotten to them, they've already made that conversion because they're just fed up. They realize after so many years, their problems are still not being solved. They keep electing the same people over and over again, and nothing's happening, or their phone calls not being answered on. I went to go visit a classroom in high school. They invited me over to their government class, AP Gov, and there was one young lady in the classroom.
I love that topic. That used to be one of my favorite when I was in school. The government. Yeah, I like that.
I was a slacker in high school, so I didn't get to have that class. I wish, but I did read a lot about the government. I had a coloring book about all the presidents of the United States when I was 8 years old. So I already knew what I needed to know by the time I got there. But there was a young lady that came up to me after the class, and she said to me, I'm a Democrat, but I like that you came out here and talked to us and that you had all this energy. And I thought that was great that as a senior in high school, she already knew she was a Democrat. I didn't realize, people in high school, I wasn't certainly thinking about whether I was a Democrat or a Republican. But, 2 weeks later, I saw her at a township event, and the whole class was there. They would come and take pictures with me because they got extra credit for it. And, I'm always game for extra credit. They went over to
just with Adam.
They went over to my opponent, and she would not take a picture with them. So, that really upset my young little Democrat friend who felt that, she was not the person that she was really kind of rooting for, was not really there to represent her interests. Now, this is obviously just because of an incident that occurred, but I have other people that say to me that they've known my opponent for many years, that they've called the office many times to see, get the dial tone. And so it happens over time. And when I come in as a fresh breath of air, as I like to try to introduce myself, to them, it just seals the deal. Like, you know what? You're right, Adam. It doesn't matter if we're Republican or if we're Democrat. It matters what you're going to do about the problems. You're going to pump in that new blood, then we're going to support you. That's what I get from a lot of the Democratic voters who will be voting for me on Tuesday, if they haven't voted for me already.
Right. On that note, I cut you off before on Linda Greenstein topic. So I attended a couple of her town halls before. You did a great job in those town halls. So what are some issues which people are noticing specifically with the incumbent senator, in this case, Linda Greenstein?
I would say that she's checked out. Linda Greenstein has been in Trenton for 21 years. She was elected to the General Assembly in 2000, took over the Senate and the district rather in 2010 when the prior state senator Bill Baroni was appointed as the head of the Port Authority. So she's been around for 21 years, and a lot of people tell me she's not around. We haven't seen her. She only comes out during the parades. She only comes out for the ribbon cutting. And I think that state government is so much more than that. I understand in my district, there's 9 towns. It's not easy. You're running around like a chicken without a head, pointing in 9 different directions. Everybody wants you to come in. Everybody wants you to stop at their event, but you do the best that you can. But there are towns that tell me they haven't seen her in months, over a year. They're not listening, And so I think the biggest problem I hear is that there's not an equal voice around the district, she seems to favor certain areas or certain places where she knows she's going to get her votes. And the one thing that I drive home to everybody is I got to represent you, whether you vote for me or not. And I'm going to do my best for you, whether you vote for me or not. That's what true leadership is. It's not just about pandering. Linda Greenstein is also known as someone who raises a lot of money from special interest groups or PACs. And I find that that interferes with your ability to really listen to the people and what their problems are. Throughout the pandemic, everyday people had issues. And, the special interest groups, that's nice. And on a congressional level, on a federal level, you need to have special interests that have a voice, but we have that already in Congress. I think your state legislature has to be in tune and in touch with its people. Constituent service is customer service. And when you have customers leave my business and they go to someone else, that means that I'm failing them. So when constituents are leaving New Jersey to go to other states, well, guess what? We have failed them as our constituents. And I refuse to let that happen.
I like that analogy. And you're right. Yours is a big district. You got 2 towns more than Angela, and you got 1 county more than Angela. So yes, Angela has 7 towns. And she's like, how does Arun know this? So yeah, she has 7, not towns.
I know you know it. I just don't need you to call me out on it. Just kidding.
So Angela, 7 municipalities. So yeah, that's right. Your job is tougher. I understand. Angela, but that doesn't mean Angela's working any less harder.
No, Angela by far and large has talked to a lot more people than I have. I will never take that away.
She knocked more doors than you did, and you admitted that.
She knocked on more doors, I think, her first month that I knocked on the entire campaign trail. It's just impossible. It's impossible to get everywhere. You try your best, and I commend Angela because I think the argument can be safely made that she knocked on more doors than any other legislative candidate. I'll go as far as to make that argument. So God bless Angela for that.
Yeah, and of those 10,000, I probably heard firsthand at least 5,000 of the doors. All the people, because she lives in the same town as I do. So, Angela, same question to you. When you knock on doors, do they complain about current incumbents if they know who they are?
That's a good point.
Yes. So most don't know who they are, but those that do typically only have complaints. I have yet to knock on a door of all the doors that I've knocked on and say, you know what, I really like our current assemblymen. I think they're good guys. Like I said, I've met a lot of people. What was that?
Not one door has someone get a compliment about any of your assembly?
Not one.
Current incumbents? No?
Not one. No. It's either they don't know who they are or, again, similar complaints to what I have, that they are unable to get a hold of them, that they're inaccessible. A lot of people in town having difficulty receiving their unemployment benefits. We know that New Jersey was voted the worst state in the nation as far as getting a hold of somebody in the unemployment department, especially in a pandemic.
It's not the worst state. I call it the 50th best state.
Oh, thank you.
Didn't Assemblyman Citarelli had a jersey the other day that was given to him with the number 50 on it, and he was showing us that number 50 ranks us. We're ranked number 50 in so many different categories. I don't understand how our governor could be proud of that.
Right. And one of those is our unemployment office. You call, you're on hold for hours. When you do get a hold of somebody, there's little to no support. So a lot of constituents within the 18th district have reached out to our state legislators for assistance and have not heard back. I have one family that I met, they're having, somebody has healthcare issues and, there's issues with the hospital, and they reached out to the legislator hoping for, assistance or, at least a direction of where they should go, have not heard back. These are all time sensitive issues that people really need somebody who's going to pick up the phone, who's going to advocate for them, who's going to, be the light when they need it. And everyone I've spoken to that does know our current assemblymen feel that they're falling short of that. So it's been if you know our assemblymen, it's been easy for me to sway them. It's a little harder to sway when people don't know them and they're like, oh, well, I think everything's okay. And then that's when you go in and you start, well, you're okay with your property tax bill? You okay with how the schools are? How about small business? You look like a small business owner. How's that going for you? So, like I said, it's been pretty easy going door to door. I'd say 99% of the doors, we have a very positive interaction. So it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure being able to meet the residents of my district. It's been an honor and a privilege, and it's something I'll never forget.
Since you guys are having too much fun, too comfortable, I'm going to ask you a couple of uncomfortable questions. So that's the job of a talk show host.
Sorry,
So-
Angela, that's my fault.
It's too late now. So let me start with you, Adam. So you knocked on so many doors. So did you have any bad experiences?
Absolutely.
Don't tell me no, because I'm not going to take that as an answer. That's impossible.
Absolutely. So when I knock on doors, because we knock on so many doors, you have to give, and this is something I learned directly from Assemblyman Chittarelli, you have to get your message disciplined and you have to have your message direct. And so when I knock on doors, my 10-second spiel, and I keep it to 10 seconds because sometimes I'll try to walk to somebody as they're getting in their car and I say, just give me 10 seconds. I promise I'll get my point across. And my point is this. I'm Adam Elias. I'm running for state senate against Linda Greenstein. She's been in Trenton for 21 years, and I think it's time for new blood. That's the first thing I say. If you want to dive into policy questions, then we can get into policy questions. I love questions. I know we're not supposed to stop and spend too much time because we have hundreds of doors more, but we don't get many questions. So when we do, I revel in it. And there was one recently that I knocked on his door. I said, I'm Adam Elias. I'm running against Linda Greenstein. She's been in Trenton for 21 years. And he said to me, I know, she's my wife's best friend.
Oh.
So that was a fun experience. I said, okay, still think it's time for new blood. And, in not so many words, he said, get the F off my property. And that was the end of it. But you move on.
Oh,
You got to
okay.
keep going.
All right. So you had some experience. All right. So yeah, because I know on campaign trail, not everything is all rosy. You have
can't
to,
let that discourage you. You got to keep going.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all part of the package. It comes with the package, and everybody has to experience that, and that's a reality of it. So I know Angela's trying to avoid the question, so I'm going to ask her the question. She's smiling. So Angela, same question to you. And
No,
is not,
absolutely. I mean, I just said,
no is not an
99% of
option.
doors I knock on, I get a positive interaction. So that means 1 in every 100, you get a door slammed in your face, or, people just ask you immediately what party you belong to. And, I'm proud to be a Republican. It's never something I ever try to hide. It's not something I put on my door hangers as I go door to door, because I want people to see me and see my policies before they see my party, especially those independent voters or those soft Democrats. But, a lot of people, for them, it's party over person. It's kind of the opposite mentality where they just go party line, regardless of who it is, what that person has done for them. And I just know that I cannot sway their votes. But I'll give you an example. Today we had an older lady. We knocked on her door and her dog got very excited, and she got upset by that. So she told us to go away. I mean, you get a couple of those a day. It's really not enough to discourage you. It's definitely nowhere near numerically the number of positive responses you get. For every one of those, I think we had 10 doors that we knocked on today. People knew exactly who we were, and they're like, we already voted for you. Best of luck. So, those are the experiences that really keep us going.
Let me ask an opposite question, so it makes you feel better. What's your one over enthusiastic voter who got so excited, so enthusiastic that he was ready to go down and vote? Right, that's 1 second. People start hugging you, shaking hands firmly, anything like that, Adam? Over enthusiasm.
Yeah, I knocked on one gentleman's door. He said, would you like to come in for a glass of wine? I said, absolutely. I would love to come in for a glass of wine. And the first thing he said to me, though, was the last time somebody knocked on my door was Bill Baroni. Bill Baroni, who was the last Republican senator in the 14th district, the Republican senator immediately before Linda Greenstein, he knocked on 10,000 doors, just like Angela. He got started a little bit earlier. I asked him when he started. I had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Baroni for some advice, and he told me he started in January. So, now at that point, I think I had started maybe in August or September. He told me at one point he had shoveled someone's snow out of their driveway to get their vote. But no, I spoke to this family. I got inside. They were planning a wedding for that Sunday, and it was a breath of fresh air for them that evening to get to talk to the new Senate candidate. They already knew about most of the issues that I stood for. And then I saw them 2 weeks later at Oktoberfest in Hamilton. At that point, it was after the wedding. They were so delighted to see me again. And it was very, very positive and encouraging experience.
On that note, Mr. Chittarelli started his campaign over a year from November. way before, like fall last year. And he did the same thing when he was in the primary the last time in 2017. So he's an early go-getter. So same question to you, Angela. Any over-enthusiastic voter? Did they offer
So
you
I'll
dinner?
tell you a funny story. I was canvassing with Darius Mayfield, who's running for Congress next year in our district. And we were in a community of townhouses. So when you knock on one, usually the neighbor can hear you coming and gets a little heads up. So we were knocking on one door and the neighbor kind of stuck her head out the door and she's like, I know who you are. Don't bother coming here. And we kind of looked at each other. We're like, okay. She's like, yes, Darius and Angela, don't bother coming here. And then she goes, because I'm coming to you. And she like ran down the stairs and she greeted us outside. And she was in her mid 60s and she told us she had been a lifelong Democrat. And just this year, because she sees the work that we've been doing, the way we've been out, our voice, our message, what the change that we'd love to bring, she changed her party affiliation from Democrat to independent. She's like, I'm not quite there yet, but at least I know that I'm done with that party. So that was one of like the best interactions we had. And she was so excited to see us, but we meet plenty of people out there who know who we are. We've been given bottles of champagne, cupcakes, home baked goods, whatever people have. They're just excited to see us and they want to feel like we know that they appreciate us. So it's been great.
I did not get any champagne or cupcakes, so I feel like I'm definitely shorted in the 14th.
I'll bring you some when you win, okay?
In fact, on the topic of over enthusiasm, I just realized I was with Mr. Chitterelli day before in Bridgewater. And there were there's always excitement, there's always enthusiasm. You guys have been to some of his rallies. There's always excitement, there's always enthusiasm. He's a great speaker. And there's some ladies were holding the sign and they were dancing, all of them. So talking about enthusiasm for Chitterelli. Yeah, there you go. So
yeah, the ladies love Chitterelli.
In general, all the voters, they are really, I hear this time and again, Angela and Adam, people are really tired of what's going on in the state. They need someone, they know the New Jersey state is broken. They need someone to fix the state, and they know that someone is Assemblyman Jack Chitterelli. Again, like I said, with all his knowledge and experience, they think he's the best candidate. And I see that momentum, we see that momentum up and down the campaign trail anytime we're with Jack in any of his events. Before any closing remarks, Adam, is there anything you want to cover which I missed? Because this is your show, you're and Angela. So anything you want to communicate to the voters?
Well, I'm going to give not my closing remark, but really a statement that I like to say to people when I give my speeches. You probably heard it before, Arun, and that is that when you want change, you got to make new decisions. If you want to lose weight, you have to incorporate a diet. You got to change what you eat. You got to start to work out and exercise. I know nobody wants to exercise, but you have to do it if you want to lose weight. You want to look better. You want to feel better. If you want to get better grades, you have to study harder. You got to spend more time studying, manage your time better, focus on what areas you need or you're weak in when you're studying. And if you want change in government, you have to elect new people. You can't possibly expect anything to change when you elect the same people over and over and over again. You have to elect younger, newer blood that has a stake in the future of New Jersey. And I know sometimes people don't like when I use the word younger, and I'm not saying you have to be young to represent people's interests, but listen, I knocked on one woman's door and she's 75 years old. She said, nobody over the age of 60 rather should be in government. And I'm 75 years old. Now, I won't go as far as to say that because I know Senator Sam Thompson, who I've heard you, Arun, call a automatic senator, because yes, he is there. He is smart and as aggressive as a whip as far as protecting his constituents. So it's not about age, but you have to get fresh blood in there. You have to get new people in there that have a stake in the future of Trenton. I know Angela and I are both parents of young children. We are in the business community. We need New Jersey to succeed. You have to have people that have a vested interest in the outcome of New Jersey. Just ask yourself this question. If Linda Greenstein does not win in this election, how long do you think she'll be in New Jersey? How much longer do you think she'll stay here? Her family doesn't even live in New Jersey. This is the only job that she has. So I don't want to put anybody out of a job. But at the same time, I know that the residents of District 14 deserve better. And that's what I'm here to offer them.
You know, the assembly and the senator, they're part-time jobs, right?
Absolutely.
Technically, they're part-time, yeah.
Supposed to be.
And
Supposed to be.
when you're a full-time, part-time legislator, what happens is you end up working too much on government. You end up printing too many bills. People don't want more government. I think people in New Jersey, like you said, are tired. They're very exhausted with all. I just left a a nice little gathering in the senior community where they were talking about all the regulations within the HOA community. You're supposed to retire and not follow rules. You're supposed to retire and be left alone. And these poor seniors in Monroe Township are not being left alone. They're living with more burdensome regulations than they've ever had to live with. So when you have too many laws on the books, too many rules, enough. Just let people live. Let them do the right thing. Let them vaccinate their children on their own accord. Let them make the decisions that they want to make for their families. That's all I'm hearing on the campaign trail. Just leave me alone.
Angela, same question to you. Anything else you want to cover? Anything you want to address before you give the closing remarks?
You know, again, like I said, being able to be the one of the Republican representatives on the ballot this year in the 18th legislative district has been one of the biggest privileges and honor of my life. Meeting the people, hearing their issues, seeing the hope in their eyes that there is change on the horizon has been such a monumental experience for me, one that I will never forget. And as I go door to door, I see the diversity in our communities. And a big part of that is the South Asian community. So I just want to thank you all for your support. I want to wish you happy Diwali. I know it's coming up next week. And I just want to reach out and just say, if you guys have any questions, if I haven't knocked on your door yet and you would like to speak to me in any way, you can visit my website, flipthe18th.org, or you can find me on Facebook at FamMott. And I would love to just engage, have conversations, and hear what issues concern you, tell you how I would approach it, and just have a healthy dialect. So please, if you have any issues, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, on the topic of FamMott, in case people wonder who Mott is, Melanie Mott is another candidate running along with Angela Pham in the same district. She's from South Plainfield. So closing remarks, Mr. Elias?
Like I said, if you want to make change, you have to elect new people in Trenton. I tell people I'm 33 years old and I got about 30 or 40 years left in the can, at least, maybe more. But for me, I'm not going anywhere. And win or lose on Tuesday, I expect to win. But win or lose on Tuesday, I'll be there again on Wednesday. I'll be back on Thursday and Friday. I think the biggest disappointment people have is, again, candidates and elected officials who only come around when it's convenient for them. I've learned a lot on the campaign trail. I've connected with a lot of people, a lot of families, and like the South Asian community, I feel one in the whole with them because, again, I grew up in North Edison. I watched the South Asian community build Oak Tree Road, build North Edison into what it is. They came together as a community, built stronger businesses together, worked together. And I see that starting in Monroe Township, and I'm behind it. This is what the American dream's about, getting together and bringing your kids the best possible educational opportunities in the United States, getting the opportunity to build businesses and take nothing, turn it into something. That's what America's about. And I know that the South Asian community understands that better than anybody. I also, too, wish you all a happy Diwali. And I hope that you all do go out and vote. Biggest thing I noticed growing up in North Edison was that no one ever voted. I always would watch the South Asian candidate for mayor. I say, oh, this guy's going to be the mayor. Obviously, he has the community, he has the votes, but they'd always get the least number of votes. And what I learned about the South Asian community, the Coptic community, and many immigrant communities is they come to the United States and unfortunately they take their rights for granted and they don't vote. They're happy to just have their freedoms, have their privileges. So what I would encourage all of you to do is you have to go out and vote because that's the one thing nobody can take away from you. That's the one thing that can really affect the outcome of your lives. So please, happy Diwali, please go out and vote and make sure you elect Angela Pham in District 18 and you elect me in the 14th District.
Yeah, on that note, the not voting is in general an American voting trend, not voting in enough numbers. It's close to 60 if it's a presidential year, but it drops further down, especially for states like New Jersey and Virginia, which are a year after the presidential year, so close to 50%, even less sometimes. So yeah, unfortunately, that's a trend. I think people from all communities, they should always exercise their right to vote. Again, I mean, in the words of my hero, President Abraham Lincoln, ballot is more powerful than a bullet. That's what he always says. All right. So your ballot is very powerful. Please exercise your right to vote, regardless of which party you vote for. Always do vote, because that's the most powerful weapon you got. Angela Pham, same question to you. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, so just one last introduction. My name's Angela Pham. I'm running for Assembly in New Jersey's 18th Legislative District. And as Arun touched base upon, it is so important that everybody gets out and votes. As I've gone door to door, I've met people who have already sent in their mail-in ballots, and they went ahead and let me know that they didn't vote for me. And I tell them all the time, that's okay. Thank you anyways for voting, because that's your duty as an American, to sit there and to elect your officials, because they're the ones who affect your day-to-day life. Another issue we see when we go to door, a lot of people tell me they only vote in presidential years, which is also a mistake, because, you know, these state and local elections are the elections that affect your day-to-day life. They affect the money in your bank account. They affect what your kids are learning in schools. They affect your local economies and your small businesses. So if anything, it's more important that you guys come out on these state elections and have your voice be heard, because as they say, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And me personally, I love to complain. You can just ask my husband. But, you know, that's why I'm out here and I'm working as hard as I can to try to be a voice so that we have a little bit less to complain about.
And you're not just complaining, you're acting on the complaint,
Exactly.
running for the people, running for the residents, both of you. In fact, everybody is doing that. Any newcomer, they're not just complaining, they're acting on the complaint. Like Adam said before, if you want to make a change, I would like to extend that statement. Be part of the change. You have to be part of the change. Until then, you cannot complain. Just to add another thing to the voting, end of day tomorrow, October 31st, 6 p.m. That's the official deadline for early voting. Is that right, folks?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And after that, you would have to go in person on November 2nd and vote.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll take my opportunity for my final remarks. New Jersey state is broken. I lived in New Jersey for a long, long time, and the state needs to be fixed. And the state needs Mr. Jack Ciattarelli. I was about to say someone like Jack Ciattarelli, but the answer is the state needs Jack Ciattarelli. Being part of Assembly and 5 years in Raritan Borough Council, like I said before, 4 years as Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders, and 7 years, again, as Assemblyman representing LD16, Jack Ciattarelli has what it takes to be the governor of the great state of New Jersey. It's not a great state right now, it's just a state. It's up to you guys to vote the right candidate and make it a great state, because that's what the seal of New Jersey says. If you guys remember, on the top, it says the great state. At the bottom, it says of New Jersey. Right now, the word great is missing from that seal. So if you want somebody with the right experience, right talent, right skill, right mindset, right temper, and Jack Ciattarelli is able, capable, committed, dedicated, experienced, and has the professional experience, what it takes to run a state. He's also a two-time business owner, MBA, and CPA. And in Mr. Ciattarelli's words, Jack Ciattarelli is not going to run for US Senate. He's not going to run for US President. He's running for governor of New Jersey because he is from New Jersey. He lived in New Jersey, he was born from New Jersey. The Ciattarelli family has been here for almost 100 years. They immigrated 100 years ago. He understands the problems of New Jersey. Jack Ciattarelli, along with several other candidates like Angela Pham, Adam Elias, and several other candidates, he's gone up and down the state. He's seen the problems of New Jersey and he wants to fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Angela Pham, Adam Elias from LD14, Pham from LD16, and Jack Ciattarelli a chance. Give them a chance. There's nothing for you to lose, like Mr. Ciattarelli says. All you gotta do is give them a chance, and then you can see what they could do to the great state of New Jersey. That said, thank you very much, Angela. Thank you, Adam, for your time. I know you guys are really, really busy with only 3 days to go. I understand every minute is important. Thank you very much for your precious time. and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much for having us on. It means a lot.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.